let's do one more. Now, my first exposure here looks like I'm getting a lot of overexposure. I'm off the right of the histogram. However, this is reflection. And sometimes specular highlights or light sources are acceptable for red clipping. But let me open this up and let me just look at the exposure below it. Now, in the exposure below it, this looks pretty good because, again, this is just highlight warnings. It shows clipping in one channel. I know there's no reason to even look at the one that's 2 stops overexposed because this is really off the histogram. Here's the first one. And this one here, it's going to be great because, again, specular reflection should show clipping. So let me go here and click on the photo that's number 2 in the stack. It moves it to number 1. Let's go ahead and process this through our normal ways. First thing we do is auto tone. The next thing I do, you can move the slider here, kind of like to move the slider up here. Now, you'll notice here was the way we imported it. As soon as I hit auto tone, Lightroom increased the contrast, took the exposure down automatically, but somehow it looks like we've lost our highlights. Well, they were captured properly. This is the auto tone exposure, and I'm just going to go ahead and try to adjust an average exposure. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to see if I can find a white balance. I'm going to try again the gray street, and you can see that that certainly did 2 things. It really took the blue out of this winter scene, and it certainly affected the top end of my exposure. Now that I do this, let me take this highlight down a little more. Look at the buildings up here. I'm getting a lot of nice detail. And now, of course, you know where I'm going. I'm going to see what this vignette 1 looks like. Well, maybe a little strong there, so I'm going to go back down here. And I have 2 options. I can decrease the amount. And sometimes if you change the priority from highlight to color, you see it subtly minimizes the effect. And I just may pull it back just a little. We're going to just move along quickly here. You can make any kind of adjustments you want. I'm going to just bring up the vibrance a little. I kind of like what's happening in the building. And I think what I want to do is, let's see if I can just do it with some sort of gradient. Okay, I'm going to take the highlights down and see how I can bring that in. And I don't like the cool blue. I'm going to desaturate this. Now, I think it looks silly if it's all black and white and gray. So I'm just going to bring it back to a comfortable level. And I may just see if I want to bring the detail in the building a little more over here. And let me close the brush. And I'll just boost up my clarity here to get a nice little snap. Sometimes when I boost up the clarity, I either need to lower the contrast a little or just raise my shadow detail a little. And we'll stop here. But before we end, let me go back and show our history from what was imported. This is the optimum exposure. We've chosen it. We have exposed to the right as much as we can and add some processing techniques. I guess before I go, because I can never let it just finish, I'm going to use this auto lens correction. This is in Lightroom 5. It's a magical tool. And now, one more time, before and after.